Welcome to the 15th rally for hope and kindness. I feel like I have to go like this for my shirt because I don't want you to fill in the blank full of and put something that's inappropriate. So it's full of kindness, full of kindness. Welcome to the 15th annual monthly Worthy Rally of Hope and Kindness. I'm so pleased to have each of you. Never in a million years I would have imagined that I'd be holding a 15th rally, but this is where we're at. And every month we have an amazing group of souls, each so different in their backgrounds and their stories, and even in the locations that they tag into the world from. Today we have people from all over North America and then all the way from the Netherlands as well. So it's truly a global gathering, which I'm so proud to be a part of. As always, just a few things on logistics. This event can get it is a human event, very emotional, but very inspirational. And all I ask is that everyone extend their kindness. If the speakers go into a state where they go back into a story where they're feeling like they're there again and need an extra push from you to keep going, please show them some love with a heart like this, or a more modern heart like this. So either way, if you feel like they need an extra push, or if you can relate to something that they're saying, or you had an aha moment, anything that gives you just happiness and joy, make sure and show that heart, show that love. That's how we show kindness to each other, that I hear you, I see you, you're not alone. Each speaker gets 5 to 7 minutes. After each one, I will introduce each one, and after each one, you will get a chance to ask them questions or simply just comment if something really spoke to you. If you want to say thank you, I don't feel so alone right now, or anything, that's your chance to do so. After all, we're all humans, and even though we may think we know each other or have assumptions and we look at a person or we look at their bio on LinkedIn and feel like we know them and they've got it all together, everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. So show the love, show the hearts. That's how it's going to go around today. I'm going to start, as always, with a story myself to kick things off. As always, I never know what I'm going to say. I just kind of go outside, look at the sky, and let the energy fill me with whatever needs to come out that day. And today I was feeling a lot of things, but mainly I've been going through some times that have been challenging the past couple of months with some decisions that are going to pretty much alter my life. And there's, as always, two voices in my head, just like a lot of people's heads. There's the voice that's pushing you, you know you can do this, Andrea, the cheerleader voice, and then there's the voice that constantly criticizes, the fear, the voice of fear. And instead of using that, I like to call it the voice of the gut, like the gut feeling, and then the voice of the ego. Now, ego doesn't have to be bad all the time. Sometimes ego is there to protect you, to make sure that you're more in line with what's realistic. But sometimes it's like a toddler. It likes to always have attention. I think I spoke about this last time. If you're not paying attention to it, it's going to get louder and louder and louder, and sometimes distort things to the point where you're going to pay attention. And when you get attention, it feels relieved. So what I like to compare it to, and I was thinking about this when I got up, is I was a teacher way back ago. My background is in communications, but I started off teaching middle school Spanish, actually, in a private school. And as a teacher, if many of you have been teachers, who do you remember first? Who catches your attention first? Probably the troublemakers, probably the loud students, probably the ones that are trying to be the class clown, or make sure and test you. I like to call that my ego. What catches my attention first when I think of an idea, or when I run into a situation, or when someone speaks to me? My ego is so loud. It's like, Andrea, what are you saying? Why did you say that? That makes you look so foolish. Or you think you want to do that, or you could never apply to that. They would never accept you. Your ego is like that student that's so super loud. I'm not saying that the student that's loud is bad, because if I think back many years ago when I was teaching, who do I remember the most is some of them are those louder students that have been the ones that made me smile, that no matter what really brought joy to my challenging days, because they were always making me smile and saying something just completely ridiculous that I couldn't burst out in laughter in front of the class, but I did secretly when I went down at my desk and got a pencil from the drawer. So it's not always bad, but you have to keep it in check. You have to give it some rules, just like any child, any toddler. So once you get to know your classroom better as a teacher, if we're using that analogy, you get to know the students better. You get to know the ones that perhaps were quiet at first, and you didn't have a chance to really know because the loud ones caught your attention, but then you realize that the quiet ones are really not quiet, or really have these great ideas that perhaps you didn't see at first because they were so overshadowed by the others. And then you start seeing everyone as they are. As you get to know the classroom, you have more time. Same thing happens to, if I think about myself, the same thing. It wasn't until I decided to give myself more time to know myself, not being so distracted in the everyday. I took a year off of having like a really challenging, great, but challenging full-time job. I took a year off, and that was the hardest year ever because I had to know myself. This whole time I was listening to the loud child in me, the ego, telling me that's pretty much how I ran my life. It wasn't until I took time for myself, really got to know the different students, the different parts of myself, the different voices in myself, that I started to realize there's more to it. There's more depth. There's more ideas. There's some ideas that have been overshadowed because the louder parts of me, the toddler, the ego, has been trying to always take control. And so that was life-changing for me. And now it's not so much that I ignore the ego. I really respect the ego. I acknowledge the ego because the worst thing you can do is ignore it. But I do also, as I'm paying attention more to other parts of myself, they're not so much in the background. And those gut feelings, which I like to call the gut feelings, that used to be the quieter children, that used to always just be squashed by ego because I was so go, and all I could hear was the loud voices. Those gut feelings are what I'm trying to pay more attention to now. They're actually, I'm more self-aware of them. And this rally right here is a gut feeling. If I hadn't listened to my gut feeling of doing this in June 2020, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have had 15 of them. So I encourage each of you to really go inside and see who are those students inside of the classroom of Tim, of Jen, of Sejal, of Ipek, of Monique, of Rafi, of Felicia, of Stephen, of Russ, Sparkle, everybody. Who are those students? Acknowledge them, look at each of them, give them a chance, because you wouldn't be surprised. You will be surprised who perhaps has been in the corner, and they can really change your life. So that's all I wanted to share today. But let's get started. The first speaker is Sparkle, Lindsay. Sparkle, I never really met with her one-on-one yet. We're meeting next week, but I feel like I know you because several mutual friends have said wonderful things about you. You're a member of the Humans First Club, which if you're not part of that, I'd really encourage you to check it out. But Sparkle, I've checked some of her videos and interviews, and oh my goodness, her story just blew me away. Again, if you just read people's bios on LinkedIn or look at people right here just on video, you could never imagine what they've been through. But she is just all about courage, empowerment, confidence, despite what was thrown at her. I am so in awe of what Sparkle has gone through. She was giving a plate of a lot of challenges, but despite that, she always remained self aware and thought how she could use those challenges and turn them into opportunities. And now she's helping tons of people
Yeah, wonky
with her
donkey and damn tap. I
inspiration.
can't remember shit. She was
So,
telling me.
Sparkle, I give it the floor to you. I can't wait to hear your
I
story.
mean,
Okay, I heard somebody in the background. Hi, guys. Good morning. My name is Sparkle Lindsay. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, author, and a nationally certified recovery coach for alcohol and addiction. I first want to say thank you so much, Andrea, for giving me the opportunity to share my story today. And I loved every bit of what you had to say. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was that loud kid in class. Little did I know that that loud kid that I would be would go through so many different trials and tribulations throughout my life, and then find a way to use my words to speak from my heart to help others find where they're going in their life as well. So for me, my journey has been a big journey, but I'm going to start it with May 4th, 2019, where I decided to get sober from alcohol and addiction. I am currently 2 years and 3 months sober from alcohol and addiction, and I am so pumped to have a second chance at life. I can say that a lot of my addictions surprised me. I didn't drink until about 25, 26, but I went through so much before that. You know, I got a full ride scholarship to play basketball. I graduated with a 3.9 GPA, and I was playing basketball. I was in the middle of just uh, practicing. And one day I felt really, really sick, and I wasn't sure what was going on. I was about 21 at the time, and things were going on with my cognitive. Like, I would be asked to do certain basketball moves, and I would do the complete opposite. So obviously everybody kind of thought something was wrong with me. They thought I had a hard time understanding things, or there was something going on with my mental. And come to find out, I was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis. Within that time, I was 140 pounds, point guard, and I dropped from 140, or went from 140 to 107 in a week and a half. I was put in a wheelchair for about 6 to 8 months, and I was told I'd never play again or never walk again. So you would think that someone like me would, hang it up. That's about it. I'm done. And I absolutely had a fight or flight mode to me. I decided to reteach myself to walk. I decided not to go back home, and I decided I'm going to reteach myself to walk, and I'm going to play some more years of college basketball. I did just that. I played 2 years of college basketball, got a chance to try out for the WNBA, and I turned it down due to the fact that my body had been through so much just with the myasthenia gravis. So as I kept going through my life, I jumped into corporate America. I got my degree. I had a double major and a minor, and I was the first woman out of my family to get a degree in college. Also battling my family wanting me to come home because I was so sick, and I refused to come home. So instead, I got the degree and I jumped right into corporate America. Well, I talk a lot about this with a lot of people that I'm on the podcast with, but I talk about the strong woman syndrome, and that feeling that, like, you can never ever be wrong. I had that feeling. I was the oldest of five. I then became this corporate America guru where I was the fix-it. I was the fix-it person. I would sacrifice myself to do all of these things for others. And, at that time, I didn't realize what I was doing, but I knew something was wrong because I started wanting to drink more. I started drinking more. I started really working around the clock. Perfection set in. Just all these different things. I was just driving so hard. I just had this drive to make it and to fix everything that I was actually spinning out of control. And that may have been even before I had really started drinking. So, I think a big portion of my life there, I felt like I was just walking. I felt like I was doing great. I felt like at the age of 26, I come out making 75,000 a year. I'm single, no kids. I mean, I'm what people would call living the life. You've done everything you're supposed to do. You've worked your way up. You've got your degree. You're an African-American woman who's strong, all of these things, an athlete. And inside, I was hurting and I didn't even know it. At that point, I hadn't even realized that I had been doing so much for everyone else that I had not known myself. For a long time, I never even knew myself. And I went on through, I ran remodels for Kohl's and set up the whole HR database for Pennies. And then I ended up at King Soopers. And King Soopers was a wonderful place. I was getting a lot of accolades, doing great. And I had a client actually, or not a client, but an associate who came in and he didn't have anywhere to live. So as an HR manager, we were trying to get people all squared away with nowhere to live using the Helping Hands Foundation to help people get there because he was a wonderful guy. And he came in one day and he was really sad. And I wanted to give him good news because a little bit of kind news goes a long way when you're not having a good day, So I told him I had good news for him. He kind of shrugged it off and he went to the bathroom. And in that time, I just got this feeling, my intuition told me that something was really, really wrong, and I went back. I said, I'm just going to greet him when he comes out the bathroom because this is going to make him happy. So I go ahead, walk to the bathroom. It's been about 5 minutes. And, I opened the door and he shot himself. And I lost it there. I lost it there. I think a big portion of that was I tried to be strong. I tried to be really strong through all of that. And it just got the best of me. I started drinking around the clock. I was still trying to work. I was drinking, I was doing cocaine, I was doing everything to not feel. And I was trying my hardest to not feel. I kept going. I kept just trying to make it where I could just numb it. But it wouldn't allow me to. So I kept using. I just kept using. And so 6 months later, after that, I was diagnosed with lupus. So I had all these different things hit me all at once. And I really didn't know if I was going to make it. I knew that I needed help, but I couldn't find the strength to ask for help. As an executive, you don't ask for help. You got this. I can take care of it. My name's Sparkle. I can do this. And then there was just this point where I decided to say, I cannot do this any longer. I would be stronger to say, help me. And I'll be dang, everybody in the world, they came to my rescue. And for that, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful because I went to treatment and I got sober and I got a chance to actually take my life back and be the Sparkle I know I could be and I am turning into. And with that, I decided to write a book, become nationally certified as a recovery coach to help others help themselves figure out where they fit in their puzzle, whether it's alcohol and addiction, whether it's being a workaholic, whether it's an executive who thinks we have everything and we could do everything and not feel. I decided that that was where I wanted to go in my life and that's where it gave me the most peace. And I feel for the rest of my life, it will keep me sober because of that. The feeling of knowing that a person is fighting so hard to find their light at the end of the tunnel is an amazing feeling. And I think sometimes we don't know just how hard that ride is. So if we close our eyes just for a second and take the ride with them, it is powerful, very powerful. And so for me, that's where I find every day, working on myself constantly and stepping into my power daily, is watching others fight for their life as well, through kindness, through love, through respect for themselves, and through understanding that we're just human and that everything is okay. Whether it's wrong or right, it just is what it is. And as we get to learn that, and as we learn to give ourselves grace, it becomes a wonderful journey because we begin to find happiness, true happiness, tears of joy happiness. So thank you guys for letting me share.
Sparkle, you're amazing. I knew that, but oh my goodness, your strength, your courage, your vulnerability, that is the stuff that makes people love you and connect with you. And you are a true inspiration. And you've been through so much, and you're still here.
Oh yeah,
with us and sharing your story. And because of your words, you are, and I know you are, and you did inspire others to do the same, to keep going. Thank you so much, Sparkle.
thank you.
Any comments or questions for Sparkle?
Sparkle, I just wanted to say thank you. I mean, you and I have had a couple conversations, and I'm always so grateful to be in your presence. And you shine the light so bright on all of us. And just thank you for always showing up and being vulnerable and just honestly sharing it. You're a gift. So thank you.
Jen.
You're welcome.
David?
Yeah, again, just wanted to say thank you. What resonated for myself was around the vulnerability. You were talking about asking for help, and a lot of times I think we as humans, especially those, we feel like it's a weakness to ask for help because we don't want to be vulnerable. And as Andrea was talking about, our ego, but asking for help and being vulnerable is a true superpower. And I'm proud of you, and I know I'm gonna be proud through the rest of this. I'm always proud when I turn up this, you know, to hear you asking for that help and getting it, and people coming round, and you've come through the tunnel and you've seen the light, and that's great. I just wanted to say that it's great to hear. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for being you.
Well, thank you.
And your image is very powerful, Sparkle, in the background.
Oh yeah, I was telling them before we started that I was gonna come to each of you guys through this tunnel back here. So just know I'm not that far from you.
I don't see you in a tunnel. All I see is light around you.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
thank you so much, Sparkle.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tim. So Tim, I had the pleasure to speak with recently, but I've known all about Tim for a while. He has always these cool effects, I tell you. He's a pro, and he has in so many shows, and he's just always just brings a smile to my face. But Tim is just pure positivity. He's extremely talented. He has his story as well, but I see him as so innovative, creative, positive. I've most recently joined his show, which I know he does with Nancy Barrows, who's here, and some other shows. But it actually, if after this rally, check it out. They're on LinkedIn. It's amazing. Shout out Saturdays. It just brings a smile to your face. I dare you not to smile if you go over there. So Tim is just has this positive, radiant energy that I couldn't help but he's been on my list for a while, but to invite here because everyone has to get to know Tim. Everyone has to follow Tim. He does some great stuff and he's about to embark on even more things. I can feel it. So Tim, I am so happy you are here and such a pleasure to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm sending lots of love your way and to Sparkle and everyone else. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful for being here. I know Nancy, who's here in the comments, Nancy Barrows, she mentioned me to you. So thank you. Thank you, Nancy, for doing that. I guess I'll start my story almost 15 years ago. I had some purple blotches on my legs and I went to the doctor and they took some blood work and I was driving out of the parking lot and they called me on my cell phone and they said, you need to go to the hospital right away. And I was like, oh, and they didn't really say too much at that point. So I drive 2 hours to Westchester Medical Center from New Jersey. And I get there, I'm there for about a week. And it turns out that I have chronic myeloid leukemia. I had never had any other health issues before, really. Some people, like, there's a history of cancer in my family. My uncle had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is probably the closest thing to what I have. But I go to the hospital. So grateful for all the doctors. I still go to the same doctor 15 years later. It just makes me feel better to go to the same doctor. I was just there the other day, and shout out to my doctor and all the nurses and all the nurses and doctors right now that are going through so much as we go through this pandemic and everything. So I was in the hospital for about a week. I have to take oral chemo medication in my life. I was just at the doctor's the other day, and it turns out my leukemia numbers are going up. They've kind of been like, but they're like, I don't know which, trying to do the Zoom thing. Anyway, luckily there's other options out there for treatment. So we're gonna play it by ear, but I want to talk a little bit about the last few months, because the last few months have really been inspiring for me. What happened was Nancy Barrows created this movement called the Radiating Real movement on LinkedIn. And the whole idea was to take a picture of yourself in the morning, without your makeup on, without getting dressed, and just take a picture, show up as your beautiful self, your authentic self, and just show up, maybe share a little bit about, what's going on about your morning. And so I did that. But then what happened was Steve Sullivan on LinkedIn, he shared his story about living with leukemia on National Cancer Survivor Day, which was just a few months ago. And I had never shared my story publicly on a live show, like in any sort of depth. I've mentioned it here and there in comments. And so Steve created this video. And then I was invited on Jenny Gold's show. And her shows are usually about autoimmune issues. But I had never talked about anything, in depth about this before. And this whole radiating real idea, like, yes, showing up with yourself in the morning, but the bigger idea of radiating real is showing up in the moment as your authentic self, no matter what you're sharing, right? So a lot of things aligned, and so I ended up sharing my story for the first time on Jenny Gold's show a few months ago, and then on Nancy Barrows' Connected Human Conversations show, and several other shows. And it was just I received so many beautiful messages and prayers and comments and direct messages. And before, all my posts were about, 5 ways to become confident on live video, or, like very businessy, transactional kind of content. So then what happened was the other day, so one of these messages that I received a few months ago is from someone who said he was just diagnosed with leukemia in May. And what he did was I asked him how he found me. He said he searched in LinkedIn, either leukemia or leukemia survivor. And what I did was, after I shared my story, in the title of my LinkedIn profile, I put leukemia survivor. And that's how he found me. So the other day, just a few days ago, we talked on the phone, and it was so amazing to connect with someone else who, he also has chronic leukemia, a different form of it, but he had never, like, he was looking for people who had gone through something like this before, and he saw that I'm going to be living with it for 15 years. And he was like, could we talk so I could, kind of, I'm not sure what to expect. And when I spoke to him the other day, he said that he went to the hospital, a VA hospital, and all he knew was he had chronic leukemia. He did not know anything else for 2 months. He didn't get any results of any tests for 2 months. And we just shared our stories. We laughed so hard. It turns out he's also an amazing nature photographer. He's been published in like National Geographic and all these things. And it was just so amazing to connect with another human being who's going through similar things very much earlier on, and to just be able to, just share our stories, both personally, professionally, but really just connect and make another friend because of LinkedIn, who have gone through similar things. So that's really what I wanted to share, just the power of showing up, the power of supporting others, the power of using your voice. It all matters.
The power of showing up. You did just that, Tim. Oh my gosh, I got chills when you said that, because if you wouldn't have taken that first step, you would have never met this person. And to make it, just the fact that you made them feel not so alone because you had the courage to do that. Imagine if each of us went on our LinkedIn and put a little bit more about our story there. In fact, let's dare each other to do that. Put a little bit more about your story there to see who else you may reach out to. Who else may reach out to you? Let's use Tim as an example, because that's amazing. We don't have to wait till these rallies to do this. We can do this every day. Thanks for that, Tim. That really was great.
Thank you.
And you are full of inspiration, and you must teach us how you do these hearts. This is just
Yes.
amazing.
I will. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Any questions or comments for Tim?
Tim, I want to acknowledge the way that you always show up. You give people fight. You give people the allowance to just fight, and that it doesn't have to be a certain way, and that life can be good and encouraging. And I just love the brightness you bring and the always optimism. And it's just such a pleasure to be in your space. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, Jen. I really appreciate that. And I know oftentimes I show up and I'm smiling. I'm almost always smiling. That doesn't mean I'm always smiling inside. Like we're all going through stuff, right? Pandemic or not, leukemia or not, right? There's all stuff, but thank you, Jen. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It can be easy to give up fight, and you show that every day that it's what we believe. And if we believe that we can heal, and if we can believe we can be better, we're so much more connected and powerful together. So that's all. Thanks, Tim.
Amen. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
You continue to be so real, Tim, because something you just said is really, I bet you lots of people feel the same way. How many people, just show of hands, you may be smiling, but you're not feeling exactly happy when you're smiling? Sometime in your life. Yeah. And some people just smile because, wow, EPEC, I bow down to you. That's beautiful. Thank you,
I
Stephen.
think one of the important. Hi, I'm Stefan. I'm always everywhere to support Tim and anything he does. Tim and I have gotten each other through this pandemic together. I think I see him radiating it real live on video chat almost every morning. We get together and we talk before we even have our coffee. And Tim likes to joke about how I say coffee all the time because of my New York accent.
Coffee.
So
Sorry.
there you go. He had to do it. I
Drink
knew
your
it.
coffee. Thank you,
But
Stefan. Yeah.
I actually only started drinking coffee this year because I finally found something I like.
You turned to the right side, Stefan.
But the thing that I wanted to say was that, it's really important to learn how to share things about yourselves in the proper way because Tim and I were talking about this the other day because he had a guest on his show. Tim, what is her name again?
Which guest?
There's just the last Tim and Jim show. Oh, I know you're drawing a blank now. It happens.
I am.
Anyway,
Normal.
it's okay. It happens to all of us all the time. We have COVID brain fog, as I call
Oh,
it.
Julia from Now Marketing Group. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So this woman, Julia, was on, and I'm sorry, I'm drawing her last name blank right now, but it's Saturday morning. Anyway, she was sharing about that, some people find it really hard to put themselves out there, but it doesn't mean we have to put everything out there about ourselves. Not everything is to share. It's how you share it, the proper way of sharing it, and sharing, most importantly, what you're comfortable with. Because Tim's partner, Jim, on the show said actually the most important thing during that show was that Jim is an ex-Marine. He gave many, many years of himself to this country and to doing what was necessary to fulfill his role as a Marine, a lieutenant colonel, no less. And now Jim made it clear that, he finally was talking about a divorce he went through and a few other things, but he didn't talk about the details. But he shared that he, as a Marine, had a certain standard of carrying himself in life and as a Marine. And he is finally sharing certain things, but he doesn't get into the nitty gritty. But that doesn't exclude him from the fact that he's been through a divorce, but that he's been through other things, that he's upheld himself in a certain professional way all these years. But he's a caring and really sincere individual, and that's what attracts you to Jim in the way he presents himself. So it doesn't mean getting online and just spitting everything out there. That's the worst thing anybody could do, because then people look at you as if you're totally unraveling and falling apart. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to share ourselves, and at times in groups like these, it's really important to be that and more. Like Sparkle, I give it to you. I mean, you are one incredibly strong human being. And I'm glad to know you now. I'm glad to support you and everything. And just know that that support will be ongoing because you're amazing at what you shared here. But there are certain venues where that probably wasn't so in the past. And I give it to you for being able to share your story that way. So thank you for doing that.
Could I just say that Stefan has been such, we knew each other before the pandemic through his name's Sri Srinivasan, and we went to an event together in New York City a few years ago. But since the pandemic, we've all gone through so much, and almost every single day we've gotten on a video chat. And the other night I read to Stefan the Dinky Donkey. We were laughing so hard.
Oh my God.
Anyway, love you, Stefan. Just wanted to say Stefan's just amazing, and yeah, so appreciate you, Stefan.
I appreciate you too, man. I appreciate everybody for sharing their stories. And we all get to a point where we find the strength to share other things. And we may not be there at that point right now. We may not be at that point other times. But by listening to such incredible stories, actually, I think will help all of us in the future, including myself, because we just have to find the proper ways of doing it and when we're most comfortable.
Thank you for sharing, Stefan.
Hey,
And
Andrea, I'd just like to make a very brief comment.
yeah, Rafi.
Uh, I really love the session. It's my first time to attend, commending you for the past 15 months you've been doing this. Uh, the reality is, all of us are really vulnerable, like Sparkle shared, especially during this time. This is the moment in time in history that everyone, I think, without any exception, needs this kind of environment where we share kindness and caring for each other. And I love this the power of showing up, starting with family. You know, sometimes the pandemic accentuated the value of that. You know, we have more time when we are at home, spending time with our better half, our kids. Sometimes we often neglect that because we are so focused on work. But being at home allows us now to come to terms with that. A lot of things that we neglected. The power of showing up with our team members at work. Um, Very often, when we are in a leadership position, you meet with your leadership team. But have you ever shown up with the teams that they oversee? They will appreciate that too, right? So, uh, showing up when they have their own meetings and just say hi to them is tremendous value to them. And even in the larger scheme of things, we are part of industry organization. Sometimes it's not enough just to sign up as a member. Have you ever showed up, participated in the program? Have you made contribution? Did you show up? Did you listen? In all of this, whether family, work, or industry, showing up means your interest, your ability to listen to others, what's going on. So you can incorporate lessons learned, like what I'm learning today from Tim and Sparkle. These are very valuable insights that we can incorporate in what we do and feel. And so I just want to share that and appreciate the initiative by Andrea here and by every one of you sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Ralph.
Andrea, if I may, I'm sorry, I don't want to hog up any more time because other speakers want to speak, but I just wanted to add on something that Rafi said, add on to that. Rafi, you're absolutely right. You know, I mean, let's face facts. This is a pandemic that we've been going through, and all of us globally. And there's two things that I just wanted to add here is that I find this very difficult at this time because I have other things that I really have been going through that I won't share publicly right now. But I'm also in the middle of a job search because it's been a very difficult time economically. But I find it very difficult to balance sharing a certain amount online because I'm also concerned that certain employers, prospects, and other things will then see those things, hear those things, and hurt my chances of getting ahead in certain ways. And I think many of us face that dilemma sometimes because, let's think about it. I mean, honestly, we there are people out there who say they want to support and they may support in certain ways, but then when they hear what you're going through, they may not necessarily want you to be a part of their business or other things. And that's a real dilemma that many of us face sometimes about being able to share. So my point is that with these types of groups, Andre, I commend you for putting these types of things together because we need to have these venues and other platforms to be able to share certain things, and hopefully I'll be able to share a little more in the near future. I'm just not ready to yet about certain other things.
Of course. Thank you, Stefan. I really appreciate that. I know, Tim, you have to go to your show. Thank you so much.
I'm actually going to stick around a little bit longer. I got permission.
Yes. All
Hey,
right. I know Melody and
hey,
Sparkle have had their hands up. Melody?
Yeah, Tim, I just wanted to say you emanate that life is worth fighting for, and that's a very important message. So keep doing what you do. Our prayers are with you.
Thank you so much, Melody. That means so much to me. I really appreciate it. I'm sending love your way.
Right back at you.
Thank you.
Sparkle?
hey, Tim. I just wanted to say
Yes, Sparkle.
I love your vulnerability. And I wouldn't have never known you went through any of that. And I see you posting everything all the time and the smiles, and you make me feel good when you write on things, and, you know, being able to just be you and speak your truth, no matter where you're at. I really, really value that. And I value someone who has worked through that. You've worked through it to be able to talk about it. And that right there is vulnerability with yourself, right? So I
For
just want to
sure.
say thank you so much for showing up and standing out.
Thank you, Sparkle. And I will say also that I found I think a love of writing again. I used to be in journalism before live streaming and social media marketing and stuff like that. And I also just kind of find it to be therapeutic because I don't do like journaling or anything like that. But if I just put it, not all of it, but a lot of it lately out there, um, it just it just feels good, you know, like putting it down. And then when you hear from others that you've inspired them somehow, or they, you know, they want to connect with you, I'm sure something similar has happened for you as well. Has
Oh,
it?
yeah. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day somebody's going through something that's so cool, and they finally have the strength to get out there and say it. Like, you know, Stefan,
Yes.
one of the coolest things about it is being vulnerable about the fact that you say, if I expose myself on camera or whatever, then what about those jobs and what are they going to think of me? That right there is vulnerable, you know, and that right there is the truth. And I feel like when we tell the truth and we speak from our heart, either people can accept it or they don't. But regardless, you're speaking how you feel. And I totally respect that.
I just wanted to jump in a minute if I can, because
Of course.
one of the things that I think is super important, and one of the reasons why I think so many people tend to be unhappy, is if we can't show up as ourselves because we're scared that someone won't give us that job, that's not the place where we want to work. And I really think that it's so important to stop letting this world outside here dictate this world inside here. It has to work exactly the opposite. And what I found in my life is that in being vulnerable in the ways that I have been, I haven't gotten the scorn of people. I've gotten the help of people. Just look at what's happening in this room. We all say we're scared of being vulnerable, but as soon as Tim and Sparkle are vulnerable, everybody is, yay, yay, go, yay, what, how fat, right? Everybody's cheering everybody on. That is the nature of the goodness of humanity. And so if we're applying for a job and someone says, I saw you as you really are, and I don't want to hire you, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I'm
Yeah.
on to the next one.
Yeah. Andrea, can
No,
I add something to that?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that Sejal? Who was
Yeah,
speaking?
it was me, Andrea. It was Jen.
Oh, Jen. Go ahead, Jen.
I just have to mimic everything Daniel mentioned. And Stefan, just to add, I was in and I'll share a little bit more in detail when I go. I was in a 15-year career when I started sharing. I was probably 11 years in at the time, and I started sharing when I was going through, and it shifted. It shifted how I got treated, and I was in a corporate director role. And I'll tell you what, since then, now 15 years past the career, and now I'm gone, it made really clear to me, as hard as it was to share, I was being inauthentic to me and not sharing. And I'm more drawn, and I'm in a healthier position now that I share to my comfort level, that I don't have to hide anything and that I can just be me. And I'm now naturally drawn to what feels good, that I don't have to hide anything. So, and I'll share more when I go, but just for words of nuggets.
Beautiful.
Oh no, I agree. I agree with Daniel 100%. I've gotten to that point now where it's not that I'm not sharing. I have, you know, things I have to protect right now in certain ways, family wise and other things. But what I'm saying is that I agree with Daniel 100% about if any company really feels that way, first of all, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be a part of it. I only want to be a part of a place that is accepting, understanding, and supportive. And I've been through that corporate role for many years. I was a photo editor at the New York Times for 15 plus years, and other things, which was an incredibly demanding and stressful job, being on news deadline every single night for that many years. And now I've been a consultant for 12 years. The one thing that's liberating about being a consultant is you can, in many ways, within reason, pick and choose what you do. But now I'm looking to transition again into a full-time role. And, you know, that's why I'm just stepping very carefully. But I agree with you 100%, Daniel. That is not the place to be if they're not going to be there to support you.
Yeah. Beautiful words. Sejal, I know you had your hand up. Oh, what's that? Oh, okay. Oh, you were, oh, okay. She was cheering us on. Excellent. EPEC, you have your hand up.
I have been a part of corporate world more than 20 years, and I hear what Stefan says, because in my opinion, it depends where you are. Not only in your journey, but also what do you need? Is it getting a job is really needs to be imminent? You are in a dire situation. If you need the job right away, and by being authentic, am I gonna lose this opportunity where there aren't already too many opportunities? So when there's that fear in you, well, there aren't already too many jobs out there. And if I act as I am, and be authentic, will I lose that opportunity while there aren't already too many out there? So that's a fear that I see a lot, which has like, if I put myself in that person's place, and I can understand where they are coming from. Of course, we all want to be ourselves. We all want to be vulnerable and authentic, and because we are all human, and there is no human in this world who didn't go through things. But some people, especially in corporate environments, they feel the need to hide. And not only hide, but also when choosing who they are gonna hire, choose the ones, unfortunately, not very authentic, but who can promote themselves better than they are sometimes. So this is unfortunately what we see in the corporate environments. And Daniel, I agree with you. Everybody needs to be comfortable enough to put themselves out there as they are. But unfortunately, the outside world and the corporate world is not there yet. And that's the only problem right now. And we as coaches, we are trying to establish that in as many corporations as possible. I think this is our mission. This, as coaches and mentors, it's our mission to make humanity the first thing for all businesses. I don't know if we're gonna get there soon. I doubt that, but at least we are aware of this. I know you all are. And if we work together, if we try to convince, even if one person from a corporation, it's a big success.
EPEC, with all due respect, I'm going to peacefully disagree with you, because in the scope of my life, one of the things that I've seen is people losing their sense of self. because they're so worried about making sure everybody else is okay with them. And I believe that it will change, and I'm a lot older than you are, and I believe it'll change in my lifetime. I'm very, very, very hopeful that it will change, but it won't change if we don't stand up for what the true values of our life are. The true values of our life are that we need to love and accept each other. We need to listen to each other and hear each other. We need to see each other and acknowledge each other. And that's what I'm going to talk about when I get my moment in a few moments. But until we're able to stand and make that more important than getting a few dollars, with all due respect, we're basically the oldest profession in the world, prostitutes standing on a corner, selling ourselves for money. And I don't mean that as irreverently as it sounds, but I do mean it as reverently as it sounds. Because what's really the difference? If we can't stand in our place and know that this benevolent, kind world that we live in will find us the place where we can be ourselves and contribute as a real, powerful, vulnerable, sensitive, 100% real individual, then this world is not the world that I want to be in anyway. I'll find it. I'll go and create that. My spiritual teacher said, if the world that you're looking for doesn't exist, go out there and create it. And I believe that's what we have to do, is we have to create those places. And we're all parts of organizations and things that are trying to bring that reality to this world right now. What the world was, I've been in corporate a long time too. What the world was 20 years ago is not what it is now. What it's now is not what it will be 20 years from now. And now, the best time to do this would have been 20 years ago. The next best time to do it is now. And so I just want to stand in, not in opposition, but in just another perspective, to just say what I believe is possible, because too many times I hear what is not possible. And I don't want the not possible to take away the possible. So
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
you.
I absolutely agree with you. And I am applying that in my life too. But when people focus on scarcity and focus on fears, it's not good. But corporations are growing and learning. And I think we as coaches, we have a lot to do with that. I think we are creating an awareness, and it's going to be good. It's going to be okay. Getting there, just getting there.
Could I just chime in briefly?
I know Sparkle. Well, Sparkle has had her hand up for a while. Let's have Sparkle.
I'm just gonna chime in. I know that for alcohol and addiction, and for many addictions, and for corporate America, I am a stigma, and I stand out because of that. I want people to know that we need to break the stigma, and it's time. And whether people like it or not, it will be what it's going to be, because the universe is going to allow it. And so I heard it was Felicia Johnson and Sharice Fontes, and they had a wonderful conversation yesterday, and they talked about what's for you is for you, and what's for someone else is for someone else. And so for me, I've learned to keep it moving when it's not for me, and be happy for who it is for, meaning that there's no fear involved in that, because what's for me will happen. And so I believe that, you know, as coaches, we're able to help people see all areas of ways that they can help themselves and help others, find compassion for themselves and others, but stand up and stand out, step into your own power. And like Daniel said, if it's the universe that's not created, we'll create another one. The difference is find it in your heart to figure out what works for you, and the rest will work itself out.
Wow, I love this. Stefan, you had another comment?
I'll let Tim say something. He wanted to say something.
Oh, was
first.
it Tim? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to say
People
that
get us confused all the time.
we look exactly alike. I was just gonna say, since one thing to think about, if you haven't shared your story that you want to share, like for example, I shared my leukemia story. Like I've been thinking about other things that I could do, like the other day I reached out to a leukemia organization to see if maybe we could collaborate in some way on a storytelling project or live streaming shows or something like that. Just been thinking about different ways to, once your story's out there, how could you use it in a more relevant but impactful way. Thanks.
No, what I wanted to say to what IPEC, IPEC is it? IPEC, is that how you pronounce it?
It's EPEC.
EPEC, okay. As EPEC, I hate to get people's names wrong, so that's why I ask. As EPEC and Daniel were saying to their points, I will not apply anymore, and I will not bother myself with jobs that start off with nothing but, hey, are you like the king of metrics and this and that and everything else? If you're not talking about the true purpose of the job and the true purpose of who you want to hire and the type of environment you want to create and the type of mission you're on with your company and other things, if you're starting off with all that other stuff that the corporate world typically starts off with in almost, I'd say 50% or more, maybe 75% or more of job descriptions, I don't even want to be bothered half the time anymore, because that's all they're about in the long run. You're just a number, and they're going to chew you up and spit you out in the long run. And I refuse to be chewed up and spit out anymore. So, all of this is very, very true to form and encouraging. And, it's a great group you have here.
Thank you, Stefan. Oh my gosh, this conversation has been amazing. I know there's more comments, but I need to give Daniel a chance to speak and tell his story because he needs to leave in a few minutes. So let's hang on to those questions and comments. We'll get back to them. I want to introduce Daniel. He needs no introduction because he's already said some beautiful and impactful things as always. And I want to also give a shout, make sure and give your how people can reach you in the chat if you haven't already, speakers, or even if you're not a speaker, because each of you I know is doing amazing things. Tim, I know you need to run to a show in a bit, but please let people know how they can find you and what shows, how they can go and join you. Okay, let me introduce Daniel. I'm so excited to introduce Daniel because Daniel I met through Clubhouse. And if you're not in Clubhouse, I encourage you to check it out because I go on there every once in a while, and the one of the only rooms, they call them rooms, that I ever go to religiously when I can is Daniel's room, which is the Mosaic. And it is mind-blowing. It is such a breath of fresh air. It really, really just makes you think so differently, but in a way that is so kind and full of compassion. And that's what Daniel is all about. And just the wisdom, that the words that just come out of him. And he's all about embracing the quiet. And there's so much power in silence. And I've always been very uncomfortable in silence, but now I see how much power there is in it. And his room has taught me that. And I'm so honored to have you here, Daniel. And please share your story with us.
Andrea, thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you for having me here, and thank you for everyone who has been involved in this conversation. What a beautiful, beautiful conversation. It's a pleasure to be able to sit here and listen. The reason I have to go is I have my developmentally delayed daughter here with us this weekend, and she is not toilet trained. And so I can smell the effects of what's going on. So I really got to go down soon and get her changed and cleaned up. What I wanted to do is talk about her a little bit. I have the honor of having a 31-year-old daughter who I've never been able to have a conversation with. Not because we don't want to, but just because her words aren't clear enough for anybody to understand her. And she tries so hard to say what she wants to say. And so often, I just can't get it. In the beginning, it was okay because what she had to say wasn't that I'm hungry, I need to go to the bathroom, I need to get changed, whatever. I could figure it out. But she's 31 years old now. And she has a lot of different thoughts that she wants to communicate. And she's not able to express it. As a dad who loves her more than anybody in the whole world, as a dad who wanted to share this beautiful life that I've had with her, to not be able to do much of that, to not be able to take her to the places I wanted to take her. I used to work in the spa industry, and I could have taken her while I'm in meetings for her to have massages and treatments, but it just wasn't anything that would happen. So over time, we just spent a lot of time together. And I thought really the only thing I can share with her is how much I love her regardless of how she is. As she got older and wanted to say more, she started to talk. But I still couldn't understand her because the way she spoke wasn't clear enough to understand the sounds that were coming from her mouth. When she spoke and I couldn't understand her, she did what's reasonable. She looked at me and probably thought, you're getting to be an old man, Dad. Maybe your hearing isn't good, and maybe the reason you can't understand me is because you can't hear me. So I'm going to say it louder. And so what she did then is when she spoke and I didn't understand her, she yelled. And to her credit, every once in a while, when she yelled, the way she said something was a little bit different. And I did get it. But most of the time, that isn't what happened. All that happened now is someone was screaming at the top of their lungs, something I couldn't understand when she was whispering. And the pain that went through my being at that moment knew no bounds. But my pain was nothing compared to hers. She was looking for a way to communicate to me. And so when she spoke and I didn't understand her, and she yelled and I didn't understand her, then what she did is she tantrumed. And that could be, I wish it was as quickly as I'm saying the progression is here. It wasn't. It could be a few hours later. It could be when we're walking on the beach. It could have been when we're sitting in a restaurant. It could have been when I was in a meeting. It could have been when we were at a friend's house. And those tantrums were uncontrollable. And when she tantrumed and I still didn't get what she was trying to say, which how would I now? Then she would come running and attack. So she would either come and try and bite herself or run to me and rip my shirt or bite me. And I wish I could say, being the sensitive, caring, compassionate human being that I am, that I figured it out quickly. But I didn't. This went on for about 15 years. And sometimes it happened as many as 10 times a day. Thank God sometimes it didn't happen at all. But many times it happened often. One time as she was running to attack me, she allowed me to catch her eyes as she was coming forward. And I looked at her in the eyes and I said, Elisa, you know I love you more than anybody could ever love anybody. This isn't the way we want to have this relationship. I would give every cent that I have to understand those 6 words you're trying to tell me. I just can't understand them. Can you please try to talk to me without words? Find another way. I know there's another way for you to communicate to me. She stopped running in place. The rage that was on her face suddenly became a smile that literally pierced my heart and melted me. And for the first time, she said in perfect English, "I am Daddy." I looked at her and I said, "What the expletive deleted are you talking about? How in the F are you doing that? This has been 15 years. How come I don't know that you're doing that? I mean, I try so hard to understand you. How can I not know what you're doing? How are you doing that?" And she took her finger and put it to the side of her head. And I still didn't trust it. I looked at her and I said, "You little son of a gun, have you been putting thoughts into my head?" And she went, "Yes, Daddy." And she started laughing, a contagious, uncontrollable laugh. We laughed for 20 minutes together, unstoppable. She would stop for a moment and I would be laughing so hard. She would start laughing and she would stop laughing. I would stop laughing and she was laughing so hard, I would start laughing. 20 minutes is a long time to laugh with somebody. Here's a remarkable thing. After those 20 minutes, she never yelled, she never tantrumed, and she never attacked again. She had found a way to communicate to me. And I can't say to you that every time she puts a thought into my head, I hear her, because I don't. But I can tell you, there are so many more times now that I understand her. If that would have been the end of the story, I would have been so supremely happy, because now I have a way to talk to my daughter. She's calling me right now, but because I'm here, I'm pushing it out a little bit. But I got greedy. I said, I wonder if what my daughter is doing is what other people do. I started to look at the corporations I worked with. I started to look at the governments that I counseled. I started to look at the families that I interacted with and counseled. And doggone it, I saw the same exact behaviors. When people speak and they don't get heard, they yell. When they yell and they don't get heard, they create havoc. They create tension and havoc and try and make a scene. When they tantrum. When they tantrum and they don't get heard, they attack. That can either be they take down the reputation, they try and destroy a company, they try and destroy a relationship, they try and stand on a corner and shoot people with a gun. All because they just have never been heard. When I realized through the course of millions of conversations that I've had over the course of my life with people, where I've listened to them, and I realized that the only thing that everybody agreed on, we live in a world that wants to separate us all the time. We're separated by the color of our skin, by whether we're male or female, by what border we live behind, by what religion we practice, by how much money we make, by what neighborhood we live in, by what church we go to. I wanted to know what were the things that brought people together. What were the things that everybody wanted? And what I saw without hesitation is when I sat and listened to people, everybody wanted to be loved and accepted, listened to and heard, and acknowledged and validated. And when I realized those are the easiest things in the world to do, that I could do them, I also realized the power of what my daughter, who can't speak, said to me. That if I could listen to people, they would never need to yell. If I could hear people, they would never need to tantrum. if I would be with them and allow them to be seen and acknowledged, they would never need to attack. What I would like to invite everybody in this room and everybody who would be listening to this to do is take a look at your face. God gave us the answer. He created one mouth and two ears. All of us have that for the most part. Really, what is so important is that we listen more than we speak. And even as we speak to occupy the mind so that the mind gets occupied and fear gets occupied in the beautiful stories you tell. But then allow your heart to touch the hearts of people. Allow your soul to listen to the souls of people. And speak with your heart and soul in the silence between your words to really transform a person, a family, a company, a government, a world. I don't speak to the corporations and people. I speak to the people in corporations. We all want the same thing: to be loved and accepted, listened to and heard, and acknowledged and validated, and seen. Thank you so very much for this opportunity to share a few minutes with you. I'm sorry that I'll have to leave soon, but I'll stick around a couple minutes to hear if there's anything that you'd like to ask.
Wow, Daniel, always so on point, so thought-provoking. I could listen to you for hours, for days. It's always so beautiful. Thank you so much. Any questions, comments for Daniel? I know he has to leave.
Daniel, I don't have questions. I have to say just thank you for everything and who you are to everybody.
What a kind thing to say. Thank you so much, Jen, and thank you, Andrea. What beautiful words you say. Thank you. And thank you also for the comments that I see in the comment bar. So we all want to be kind, right? We all want to have this reality. Be strong and stand in that kindness. Allow that kindness to touch the world. My wife has a beautiful, beautiful saying. It's so powerful. She says, love melts everything. Everything.
Say, Jill, do you have a question?
Yeah, Daniel, my son is here and he was listening to your story. He's 9 and he said it was a really beautiful story. So I wanted to pass that along. But I also just wanted to just add that, you know, what you said is so powerful. And it's something that every single one of us can do and pass on to everybody that we know. It doesn't require any specific training or skills or education or knowledge or anything. It's so simple. And it is, I agree with you, the solution to a lot of the problems that we're having. I know when I was listening to your story, it took me back to when I was growing up. And, you know, when I was, you know, I dealt with harassment and discrimination at a young age, but I started acting out similar to your daughter because I was fighting back. I was getting in trouble at school. I was getting suspended. I was lunging at people. I was screaming because I felt like I wasn't being heard. And it really wasn't until I got to a point where I knew I had a decision to make. because I had two paths my life was going to go down. One was going to be laying me in jail, right? Or two, I decided to not speak to people or not waste my time on people who didn't have the capacity to hear me, and focus more of my efforts on just being who I truly am and find people that did want to hear what I had to say, right? And I made that decision and I've stuck to that decision. But the way that you broke it down about having gone through that with your daughter, I mean, it just touched me and my story, and I'm sure everybody else here, and where we felt like we weren't heard. So thank you so much for just refilling my bucket with your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your kind words. What's your son's name?
Shane.
Shane, thank you for liking my story. I appreciate you, brother. I don't know if you can hear me. Thank you, Shane. Hi, Shane. You liked my story?
Yep.
That's so cool. I'm so touched by that. I really appreciate that.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
You made my day.
Happy to.
Yes. Sejal, I just wanted to say one thing. When I was in rabbinical school, my teacher told me, never throw a punch unless it's going to land. He was talking about punches of love, not punches of violence. There is a way to speak where even the hardest of souls hear what you say. So I just want to give another perspective. I completely understand how useless it is to talk to people who can't hear you. But I also know from my own personal experience, we are so connected, all of us, that when I actually learn to speak in a way that is not teaching, but is just me being vulnerable and open. Look what happened when Tim spoke. Look what happened when Sparkle spoke. That we all just wanted to get right in their arms and cuddle them, right? We just wanted to love them, because there's something about what happens when we are open and vulnerable that even the hardest of people melt. And I believe there is always a way if we're willing to do the work. And it's not on teaching somebody else what to do. It's on listening to what they're saying about to me. When I listen to what they're saying and why they can't hear me, then I gain so much more, because I say, oh, of course, that's what they're saying. When I stop trying to say what I want to say and start to listen to what they want to say and respond to what it is they're saying, even when they're saying, you little piece of crap. You know, sometimes I have a prayer, a meditation from the Mosaic, the book that I wrote, from the trash man. And the trash man comes to say, give me everything that pains you. So when someone says, Danny, you're an idiot, I said, really, tell me more. Just put it all into this can right in front of us. I want to hear all of it, because I want to know every single thing you think. And the compassionate process of that for me is, one, I start to hear something more about myself than how I'm perceived from another set of eyes. But it also allows me the space to be able to say to them, here's a place for you to put all of that pain in. My dream is for you to empty it all into this receptacle. You can have it back when it's done, or you can just let me put it in my trash truck and take it away. Because I want you to experience what life can be like for one moment, when all that hatred and all that pain and all that suffering and all that denial is no longer with you, and you don't have to hold on to it. It is such a beautiful practice to sit with those of unlike mind and allow them the opportunity to show me the way they look at the same exact thing I look at and see it completely differently. That's where I grow. That's where innovation happens. That's where revolution happens. That's where life changes, because my perspective grows. Anyway, just my 2 cents. If it feels good, keep it. If it doesn't, pop it right into the trash can.
Oh my goodness. Sparkle, I know you've had your hand up for a while.
Hey, I just wanted to say, Daniel, throughout this entire time, I've learned some great gems, great buckets of what you've had to say. I feel like when I was writing my book, I heard something you had said before, like your voice sounds very familiar to me in the past 2 years. Because I remember stating the basic essentials to life, there's 3 of them. That's listening, patience, and communication. If we don't practice them, and we all say we're good at them, but we don't practice them, we're really not listening. We're all just responding. And when you actually close your eyes, during your time, I closed my eyes, I meditated during this and just kind of sat in it and experienced every piece of what you were going through, along with what your daughter was going through. And I felt that. And so when you're able to just let yourself go and feel someone else, it's an amazing feeling because it helps you be in the real time with them. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you, Sparkle. I love you for saying that. What a beautiful thing to say.
Russ?
Yeah, Daniel, I want to thank you for sharing that. And also, I've been kind of quiet and just taking it all in. And one thing that came up for me was the idea that there are a lot of times that we don't listen to ourselves. We don't dive deeper within ourselves and discover that essence that we bring to the table. There's a lot of times where we're busy being busy and we're working really hard to make it okay for everyone. And there are times where we need to stop and decide how we can identify what it is that we can bring to the world. What gift is it that we're really working to share and deliver to others, and how we can listen to others and how we can listen to ourselves and become aligned with that and make sure that we're working to surround ourselves with people that also listen and hear us and see us as we are and who we are. And so it's equally important to understand who we are so we can be present in those moments. And I just really, for me, I'm feeling a lot because, as life goes on and we have different challenges, we have different things show up in our world, we have to discover how we were going to react and respond to these situations. And sometimes we have to become different people. And as we become different people, we have to learn how to be honest with ourselves and not hide from the truth. Just like Sparkle, you decided to change. Daniel, you make commitments to your daughter. And Stefan, how much do you share? How much are you willing to share? And the corporate life is sometimes not willing to open up. And at the same time, I think we're seeing a change that Daniel mentioned in life that is evolving, and people are realizing that they can be themselves and it's okay to be who you are and how you are in the world. And I just felt that I wanted to share something that recognized all of you for the time today.
Russ, I so appreciate you adding that extra piece, which is really the central piece, which is listening to self. And not only do I want to thank you for that, I just want to tell you that I have, definite beard envy, that your beard is that beautiful. So thank you, brother. Big love to you.
Big love to you too. And I look forward to connecting to everyone. I do have a another commitment I have to jump off to, but I just wanted to share what I've received today, and just thank all of you, and send out endless love to those that need it and those that were willing to receive it.
I think I just wanted to add something. It's very interesting when I said earlier, I'm probably, you can make people think sometimes when you say that I'm not there yet to be able to share certain things and this and that. And when I said I have a family to protect, which is the most profound statement that one can make, is that, when you have a kid that's in high school, starting high school now this year, finally, hopefully, thank God, after 2 years of being at home. I know I'd want to lose it if I was home with my mom and dad at 14 for 2 years. But the thing is that what I'm trying to get to here is that I'm in social so much that I have to be very delicate about certain things that I share about myself, because other parents and other kids around here, that I wouldn't want to go back to have it go back to him. So that's what I meant. I just wanted to clarify that it's nothing like taboo or anything or this and that. It's just that, Sajal and other people who have kids would deeply understand, and even if you don't have a kid, you understand most likely that that's what I meant by protecting that part. That's all.
Absolutely.
I
No
wanted to
judgment. Just I just want to recognize that we all need to protect things in our lives, and that's okay. And sometimes we need to protect ourselves as well.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, and my apologies for having to go. I have a leaky daughter down below.
You have no apologies, Daniel, after what you
No
shared. Thank you
apologies,
for
listen.
everything.
Thank you so much. So God bless you. And Andrea, I love you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for
Daniel, thank
having
you
me
so
here.
much.
Okay. God bless everyone. Ciao.
Oh my goodness, this has been amazing. And Russ, for your share as well, everybody. I must tell you, the moment where your son came on, Sejal, and he listened to the story, that just explained why I'm doing this. That really touched me. Thank you for sharing that moment. Oh my goodness.
That's
So
an amazing 9-year-old, Sajal, that you have.
amazing.
Amazing 9-year-old. So empathetic and so compassionate at 9 years old. And to speak it, you heard it in his voice when he said it, that he truly enjoyed the story. And that's a deep story for a 9-year-old to absorb.
Yes.
Yeah, I am, I wish somebody would have taken me on this journey that I'm going on right now when I was his age. So I am taking him with me, and he is just so much smarter. He helps me go through this and helps me see that different perspective, but he gets it. He truly gets it. He wants it. He came out here on his own. He was in the room watching. He's like, Mommy, I'm going to come listen with you. I wanted to see what you're listening to and doing. So truly blessed. But I think everything that we're talking about, if we could start younger and start educating our children about these just skills that we're talking about, listening more to other people and listening to ourselves, these are the skills we need to be focusing in on, right? And so I'm trying to do that, and hopefully we can all find ways to do that in our lives, right? So thank you very much.
Beautiful. So Vivian, unfortunately, she had something come up and she had to run, but she will be speaking at a future rally. So I'll keep you posted when she'll be speaking. But we have Jen, another powerhouse, to speak next. And Jen is the kindest soul. I've also too been following you for a while, and I love your work. And we spoke, I know, a few weeks ago for the very first time, but I feel like we've connected before on a different level, because she really sees you. If you get a chance, an opportunity to speak with you, she really sees you. Even before you say a word, she communicates soul to soul. Her energy is very inspiring and full of light. So I'm so grateful that you are here, Jen.
Thank you, Andrea, so much. All right, guys, I'm grateful to be here. and to have all of you and to meet all of you. And I'm hoping to connect with all of you at some point. And I'm going to intertwine my story with what I'm out to cause. I'm an author, I'm a anxiety coach, and I'm an intuitive energy worker. And my story started young, and unfortunately, I think it's one that a lot of people and a lot of probably you have encountered. When I was young and I was little, I took on the gifts of what other people thought of me at a very young age. And the gifts that I took on were the gifts of my voice didn't matter, that I was an embarrassment, that nobody wanted to hear me, that my voice didn't matter. And those comments came from people so that I mentored and I looked up to so much that I wore them on a badge and I owned them. And I took them as me. And first lesson, right? Like, don't take on, you're not required to take on the gifts of other people, period. Year over year, you guys, I built so much anxiety in myself and so much second guessing and so much wonderment of, how is this person going to respond if I say this? How is this person going to respond if I say this? And it became an internal dialogue that was constantly second guessing and built constant. And the feeling that you get when your whole body just feels out of control and you're sweating and your heart's beating and you're just not sure. The dichotomy for me is I'm a really strong person and I wanted a lot for my life. And I didn't let it stop me, but internally I let it really eat at me, to the extent that there's no way 20 years ago I would be showing up in this format, because I probably would have ran out the door already. Literally, I was just, that's how much social anxiety and public speaking anxiety I had built up within me. On the back end, I built a beautiful career. I built a beautiful career in corporate recruiting, and I was in the director level. And Stefan, I think that you'll really resonate with this one, is my pivot, you guys, was in my mid-30s. I was 36 years old and I had cancer. And it was a stark realization for me. And I'm leaving out a lot of pieces because I'm unlimited time and I could go into it, but it was my pivot to really look myself in the mirror and say, are you really being you? Because I had this mask on, right? Like I showed up for who I thought people wanted to be at work. And I showed up for who I thought my husband wanted me to be. And I showed up for who I thought my son wanted me to be, and for everybody. And when I stepped back at 36, and it was hard, it was really, really hard. Like I went down quick. A lot of depressive moments. I started having suicidal thinking. I'd be driving to one of my offices thinking, if I just dive under the semi, like I'll be good, right? Like I'll be gone. And then I wouldn't have to worry about it because I wouldn't have to feel the stuff anymore. And that was my turn. Guys, and that's the judgment we put ourselves through, but more so that's the judgment that we hear from other people that we take on. And that's what I'm a stand to cause, is there's no more judgment. I don't judge it. Like if you've ever talked to me, I'm not a judge. I love everybody. Anyway, 36, that was my pivot. And the road since, over the last 8.5 years, has been amazingly messy and beautiful, and crazy all in one, because for the first time especially in the last, most significantly in the last 4 years, I live without daily anxiety. And it's so good to feel that. It's so good to feel I'm going to get off of today and I'm not going to overthink anything I said, because I know I was just me. And I want everyone in society to be able to feel that, like just feel I'm just me. And know that no matter what anybody says, there's going to be, and I don't love saying this, but there's going to be people who judge us either way. And there'll always be someone who has something to say, but at least if we're true to us, then we can heal. And a couple points I didn't mention. When I started sharing, Stephanie, again, especially, I resonate so much with so much of what all of you said. When I started sharing my story, my climb up in the company I had been at for 15 years, they looked at me different. And I'm a freaking hard worker. And they gave me less responsibility and they treated me differently. It didn't change who I was. It meant I was having a moment of life. And how many other people are having a moment of life that we turn their backs to them and no one deserves it. So yeah, I totally just lost my train of thought in all of that emotion. So my message is just that. My message is, when we, number one, first and foremost, just get to know ourselves and get to believe in ourselves and get to love ourselves and get just aligned to say, no matter what anyone else says, like, this is me. And just stop caring what everybody else thinks and surround yourselves around tribes like this, who no matter what you go through, they're going to have your back. Like, I give a shout out to Dorothy because she probably knows me better than anyone, and Sparkle and Andrea and everyone else. I'm hoping to know you more directly. Like, that's what I'm a stand to cause. Like, if we look at someone, because oftentimes when we look at other people, it's not even them, it's their 3-year-old that just needs to be healed. And whatever they got going on, if we can help them heal their 3-year-old and just hear them for their 3-year-old, then that's what they're acting, however they are. And throw off the judgment to say, wow, what they must have had a lot of hurt. Because that little girl who always used to hide and didn't have a voice, like, that was my 3, 9, 5, 14. I could go on year old speaking. And clearly you can hear mental health is really important to me. Emotional health is really important to me, because when I see it on the other side and I see the pain and the judgment people are putting themselves through, I see in so many of my coaching clients, they're coming to me right now and they're saying, Jen, because I believe this, I'm hearing this and this and this, and people are really being rude and discriminatory because of choices. And that's where we stand to be a cause for each other to say, whatever your choice, that's our gift as people, to just choose who we want to be and choose how we show up and choose what side we stand on and not judge anyone else for their choices. So I had another point, and I'm going to look to my notes, because when you're a former nervous public speaker, you bring notes. I'm going to leave it at that and just say we can leave with kindness and love and support of each other, and throw off the judgment and just really see people. So, yep. And thank you again, Andrea, for letting me be here.
Thank you, Jen. Beautiful inside and out. I feel you. I actually feel like I needed to hear that, because I felt that you were describing me perfectly as well. I think we have a lot in common. My question to you is, how did you stop the overthinking? At one point, when did you awaken, and what are you doing?
Thank you, Andrea. That's a great question. For me, I knew that medication wasn't an answer for me and the anxiety that I was going through. For me, I went into learning mode, and I learned about the brain, and I learned about our bodies, and I learned about body chemistry, and I learned about how we and why we react in the ways that we react. And then I started trying things, and I really have it that it's not the same answer for everybody. And I even look to all of my clients, and the answer is different for all of them. And I started pinpointing what worked for me, as one. Two, I did a lot of cellular emotional healing. And if you guys aren't familiar, I highly encourage it. There's a great book called The Body Leaves the Score, right? Like every single experience that we have in life, it leaves scars on ourselves. So oftentimes when we experience something again, we're literally experiencing it from the past. We're not experiencing it from today. And if you work through that cellular emotional piece and allow the physiology that's in your body from the past go and heal that through energy work, through different modalities, you can literally start living in the physiology of today, as opposed to the physiology of 20 years ago. For the first time in my life, I had my first girlfriend when I was just before 40. I didn't talk to people. I was that person who, I had that story from the time I was little. You're an embarrassment. Nobody wants to hear you. Don't do this. Don't do that. That I didn't share with anybody. And I found a couple people that I could just really be real with and really talk about what's going on in my marriage, get some normalization behind life. Because I had it that if I talked about certain things that I was wrong. Because I'm very like, you don't judge, you don't talk about people behind their back, you just don't do that. But on the other side, there's also a normalization behind just being able to converse and gain perspectives on things. And probably the most impactful is I learned how to love myself. I looked deep to say, wow, I had a strong, I didn't realize it, but throughout my lifetime, I didn't really have a will to live. And I healed that in the last 8.5 years. And I'm grateful for every person I can help do the same, because there's a gift when you can just look yourself in the mirror and just love who you're looking at to a whole nother level. And there's so much more, Andrea, but that gives you the bulk of it. I'm a firm believer of energy work. It's so powerful when you just bring the right energy to your physiology and allow your body to do what it's naturally good at, because our bodies are made to heal themselves. Our bodies are made to let the trauma go.
I'm so proud of you, Jen. I'm so proud of you. I didn't know a lot of that story. And oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to be here and just providing this space, because it means the world to me. So thank you.
We have some comments. Dorothy, hello. You have a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to say, Jen, you're freaking amazing. And yes, I do know. I consider Jen one of my best friends, and Jen's healing energy work is totally amazing. I didn't even know what that was till I met Jen, actually, and still kind of like, I just trust her with everything, and I'm like, okay, let's just do what you need to do, because obviously there's some stuff going on that needs to be healed, and Jen is phenomenal with that, and she is just such an amazing person. And if you haven't been directly connected with her, you definitely need to, because she is just a light everywhere she goes. And I truly have no idea what I would do without Jen, especially the last month, let alone the last 6 months that we've been friends or longer. And you truly are a blessing in my life, Jen, and I totally appreciate you and everything. I'm glad I was able to come on the last half, because I was afraid I'd miss your talk. But when you were talking, and Jen and I have already talked this morning in our mastermind group, so she knows what's going on. But I have to say there was breakthrough even from this morning's conversation, Jen, from your advice this morning. And when you said, you didn't feel like you were heard, and I totally resonate with that. From a small kid. Even to this day, sometimes I don't feel like I'm heard. And part of what Jen had identified is that I have a tendency to not just say everything that I need to say. And because it's not that I don't like conflict, I just don't want to start an argument every single time something comes up. And unfortunately, when you're married to an introvert and you're borderline introvert extrovert, it's sometimes just easier not to bother to start the conversation, which has been a great deal. And Jen's like, well, you need to speak out. And that's why this keeps coming up in my relationships, because I don't speak it out, but I did this morning. You'd be proud. I did what the teachers told me to do this morning, and actually, for the first time ever, my husband apologized to me this morning. So it works. Whatever she tells you to do, do it. I swear it works. So with that, I just love you so much, Jen, and thank you.
Love you, girl. Thank you, Dorothy.
That's beautiful. Sparkle.
Well, I can say from the first time that we met to the second time I was on your show, to just being a part of the Soul Tribe, and feeling each other's energy. I think one of the best parts about anxiety is finding where you fit within your own self, but also within your people. And that is half the battle on your anxiety, because you have somebody that you can talk to and you can be heard and you can do things like Dorothy's doing and get responses that she needs, because you feel that belief. You feel that there's someone else who believes in you and walks alongside you. So I think the time that I have had to be able to spend with you and our connection through energy, we've never met each other, obviously, but our energy is great. I believe that, we talked a lot about quantum Reiki, which is what my father does. And the quantum Reiki for me, and the ability of having that festered anxiety, and the festered anxiety taking me over, and making me sick. I have 4 autoimmune conditions. I had to learn how to find another way to get through that anxiety, but be honest with myself. So being able to use the Reiki energy, just all of that, and put it a part of a daily practice, like you and I have talked about a lot, has been a huge blessing for me, for a lot of different addicts, for anyone, just so that we can take it down a notch for ourselves and remember we're human. And it's such a practice, and it takes so much time. But once you get the hang of it, you feel like you're on top of the world. So I mean, love hearing you share all the time. I love your story, but I feel your energy, and I feel you taking steps and stepping into your power. And I think that's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for that, Sparkle. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I agree. She definitely is stepping into her power. Any other comments, questions for Jen? I want to thank all the speakers today. I couldn't have asked for a better 2 hours and better way to spend my Saturday. I am always so touched and honored by the vulnerability, the humanness, the selfless humanness that you are willing to share with people, some people in this room that you don't even know. And that means the world to me. So thank you for the opportunity to witness that. I'm so proud of all of you. You've given me additional strength in my own journey. So I'm really, really thankful for that. Always leave with more nuggets. We hold these, if you're new, the last Saturday of every month. I would love it if you're interested in sharing your story as well. Please ping me or ping your friend that spoke today. I would love to have you. The only prerequisite is that you're real and you speak from your heart. That's it. You just need to be human. The comments, if you haven't seen them, have been amazing as well. And you guys are all so kind to each other. If you haven't shared your way how people can contact you, please do so. But I had one person in particular ask me, where do you meet these people? You always have such amazing people on. And to tell you the truth, I don't know. I'm grateful for life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, for bringing them to me. I'm grateful, whether it's through an article that you may have written, whether it's through you being a guest in some show that I happen to stop by on, or that I always stop by on. But it just made me think by that question is, trust your journey. You're meant to go where you're supposed to be. And you will meet the most unexpected people. And you will not realize what at that point attracts you to them. But follow your gut. Back full circle to how we started. Follow your gut. Something tells you to pay attention to their words. You were meant to hear their words. You were meant to read those words today. Or maybe something's itching in you to reach out. Trust it. I sometimes, and I've done this for 15 months, but sometimes I just have this gut reaction that the person's aura is just something I need to know. Something's telling me that I need to connect with them. I have no idea why. And sometimes I don't know what they're going to say or what meant much about them until they come on this rally. And then I'm like, okay, that's why. I was meant to hear that. And I believe that sincerely with each and every one of you today. Even those of you that were not the official storytellers, but from your comments, you were meant to say that because someone in here was meant to hear it. Everything's timed perfectly. I really believe that. Any closing comments from anybody?
I just want to say thank you again, Andrea, for putting this all together and creating this space. And you are truly amazing in every way, shape, and form. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
I think Carla has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Carla.
I do. I know you guys only see my picture,
I'm so
but
sorry.
I was here to support my daughter, Sparkle Lindsay. And I just, you know what? I came in here not knowing exactly what I was going to be hearing, but I did know one thing. I saw the word kindness, and it was a rally for kindness. And I just want to thank all of you guys for sharing your stories. Man, I learned so much today, just from all the different perspectives, the different experiences, things that people have been going through. We're all human. We are all human, and we're all going through something all the time. And we need to be so aware of that when we reach out to others, when we just meet them on the street, to know that we're just the same. We're all human, and you guys are all human. And I just thank you so much for embracing my daughter and also embracing yourselves in your individuality and the things and experiences you've been through. Each one of you have my utmost heartfelt prayers, because I'm on the road right now driving to Denver, and I wasn't able to put my face up there, but I was able to still listen in to everybody and hear what they were saying. And I just thank you guys so much for your experiences and sharing them. Man, I know it's going to help my daughter. I know it's going to help me, and I know it's going to help everybody that was on this call. It will make us all have a better day and a better life, just what we've all heard today. And I'm so glad that young man was here to hear it, because that's who needs to hear it. That is the generation that's going to change everything that's happening with us. We need the kids to understand that we are all human. And you know what? Being able to walk in somebody's shoes, even if it's just through their story, is something that's going to help us all take one step further into being human. I love you all. You don't even know me, but I know you. I heard you. I heard you. I heard you. Thank you so much for this rally. Have a wonderfully blessed day. Peace.
Bless you, Carla. And thank you for Sparkle. She's a gift.
Love you, Mama. Get here safely, please.
So Carla, Shane just heard you saying something really nice about him. So he wanted to, what do you want to say to everybody here?
Yeah, everyone, there's beautiful stories, and I appreciate this. I learned a lot. So yeah.
What was the one thing
Thank
you,
you.
what was the one thing you learned? One lesson you learned?
Everyone's human.
Oh, that's a good one. We're all human. It's true.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah.
Shane, thank you for being here. That's the perfect way to close this. Thank you for being our final speaker and saying the final words. Thank you so much, everybody. Love you guys, and I hope you will join in next month.